Now, the third session, I would like to actually give the word to the chairman of this session, Mr. Roel Mulder. The session is organized by the World Poultry Science Association, also known as WPSA, and Roel is the Secretary General of this organization. Roel, thank you so much for being here, organizing this session, and I would like to give the word to you.
Of course, thank you, Diana, for well, giving us the opportunity to organize something in your webinar. It's always very interesting to do this and to make more people know or give them knowledge about our World Poultry Science Association. As you know, but maybe not all our listeners and watchers know, the WPSA is a very, well, it's established in 1912. That means that on this moment we are 110 years old. And our organization strives to advance knowledge and understanding of all aspects of poultry science and of the poultry industry. And as such, you should also see our contribution of today. And well, we always like to cooperate with the organizers of large exhibitions, and especially with Poultry Africa, because we have in our association, we have an African poultry network. And to be, well, this network was established to liaise and to encourage more research scientists and educators and those working in the many diverse sectors of the industry to let them work better together in Africa. We have federations in Europe and in Asia Pacific, but Africa still was not, let's say, that far. We have branches in Africa, but less than, well, Africa has, I think, 50 countries, but we have 25 countries in where we have established a branch, and we would like to have, let's say, more participation and would encourage everyone to, well, to form a branch or to contact us to see what we can do together. The African Poultry Network, and you heard already several questions from the chairman of this network, Mr. Thomas Kaudia from Kenya. And the network is trying to organize the second Pan-African Poultry Conference. Yeah, unfortunately, as many of the events nowadays are postponed due to the COVID problems, restrictions, it could not be done. The first one was held in Lomé, Togo, and we hope that next year it will be possible to organize this second Pan-African Poultry Conference, which, well, of course, the first tries to do this would have been in Kigali, but unfortunately today we are just online. Well, to make a very long story short, we will have two speakers, at least that's, we try to have two speakers. We have connection problems with Ghana, but the speakers, the other speaker will be there. And we have changed the program a little bit because the announcement was that first would be Mrs. Comfort Acheampong from Ghana, and then Dr. Peter van Horne from the Netherlands, but we'll change that. And I hope that it's okay with everyone that we will change it and now give the floor to Dr. Peter van Horne to start with his presentation on competitiveness of the poultry sector in East and South Africa. And to give you a short introduction of Peter van Horne, he is a senior researcher at Wageningen Economic Research. That's part of Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands. He got his degree in farm economics at Wageningen University, and he works, well, on several, he works at Wageningen University and is involved in several projects internationally and nationally. He also is the economist of the International Ag Commission, and he, well, he is chairman for WPSA of Working Group 1 Economics of the European Federation. Well, I would say, Peter, you the floor.
Thank you, Roel, for this nice introduction. Like you said, I'm a poultry economist. I work at the Wageningen University, and of course, economics, the working group 1, it has the number 1 because economics is very important when you talk about the poultry industry. So I would like to explain a little bit about what's going on in some Africa countries, and I will focus on economics, and I will focus on competition because that's a topic which is very, very relevant at the moment. Yeah, then we get the next slide. I have to ask Diana to assist me a little bit. So we did a project recently in we called it Support Agri-Economic Analysis for Africa. It was funded by the EU, so the European Commission paid for this research. And we did this research together with the Bureau of Food and Agricultural Policy in South Africa. So this group was our partner in this project, and together with Wageningen University, different researchers at the university, and I'm just one of them, we did this research, and we also cooperated with a university in Tanzania, Ghana, and in Kenya. So we really want to cooperate with local universities and do this research all together. Next slide. So what did we do in this project? Well, in Europe, we do a lot of modeling, we do forecasting, and we do modeling of production and try to estimate what will be the future. So we really did support the modeling of the framework which was done in those countries, and especially in South Africa. So the European Union wants to improve the modeling work done by the economists in Africa. So we also want to promote cooperation in research. So researchers in Europe and Africa should cooperate more in this, and that's what one of the objectives also of this project. Within the project, of course, we take a look at the literature, we take a look at what's going on in poultry production, we take a look at infrastructure in some countries, and very important, we also in the project make the linkage between livestock and feed products, because that's very important. It is already told by some speakers. We not just focus on animal production or poultry production. There should be a linkage with feed production, because feed input of the poultry is very important. So we have to also take into account the production of the feed and the arable farming, and put this also in the modeling we do on forecasting. And like I said, some outlook studies which has been done by the partners in South Africa. I will not talk about it in this presentation, but that's an important part of the study. So we have 4 countries selected: South Africa, I will give some details, Tanzania, and just a little bit about Kenya and Ghana to a lesser extent, and we are still working on that. Okay, next slide. Well, everybody knows about this picture. Just to give a short introduction, this is the FAO stats, and from this picture you can see in Sub-Sahara region that poultry meat production in green, that's increasing in recent years, but you all can see that the consumption is also increasing, and you see the growing gap. That's the amount of imports, that imports in Sub-Sahara are increasing. So that can be a problem in some countries, that production is not taking up with the increase in consumption. Consumption is increasing by more than 5% in Sub-Sahara region, and production is increasing by more than 4%. In recent years, 50% of the imports in Africa, Sub-Sahara Africa, were done by South Africa, Angola, and Ghana. So it's very important to take a look at South Africa and Ghana, because those countries are really importing a lot of poultry meat from outside Africa. Okay, next picture. This is the overview of poultry imports in those 4 focus countries. On the left-hand side, you see what's going on in South Africa And in Ghana, and please note on the vertical X, the amounts, which is on the left-hand side, so the left graph, you see the imports of South Africa going up to 500,000 tons. And Ghana is also importing more than 200,000 tons, so large amounts of imports in those two countries. And it's very different from what's going on in Kenya and Tanzania on the right-hand side. Also in those countries, Tanzania imports are increasing, but to a lesser extent, it's just very low amounts of imports in Kenya and Tanzania. Next picture. So what is the position of the EU? We know that some countries are really dominating the worldwide exports in poultry meat. Those are the United States and Brazil. It's in the box, in the red box on the right-hand side. So why are USA and Brazil exporting a lot? Because they're really low-cost countries. They have the lowest production cost, and they have cheap poultry meat to be exported worldwide to many countries. And another reason for exports is the supply of byproducts. I call it leg meat. Leg meat is supplied by United States and EU because it's a byproduct. The local market in Europe and United States is asking for the breast meat. So leg meat is a byproduct and can be sold at a low price to many countries. And in this graph, I show you the EU exports of poultry meat. Those are the top 10 countries, and you see many African countries in this table because Europe is exporting a lot to Ghana. You see Congo, you see South Africa, you see Benin. Besides, of course, exports to Asian countries and also Saudi Arabia. But much exports are going to African countries, and they're not really divided. There are really some focus countries to be mentioned, like Ghana. Next picture. So in this research, we took a look at the consumer preference. What is the consumer preference of poultry? And we did focus on those 4 countries, South Africa, Ghana, and Tanzania, and Kenya. And in this graph, you can see the preference for poultry meat compared to beef and to sheep and to pig and fish. And you see it's very striking. You see the difference in between the countries, that South Africa has a very strong focus on poultry meat, and also Ghana a little bit, but in Tanzania and Kenya, there is much more focus on beef. So it's quite different in between the African countries. What is the preference of the consumer? What are they buying? Is it focus on fish or beef or poultry? And in the next picture, I can give the relation with prices, because this preference has to do with the price of those different types of meat. And in this picture, you can see that, for example, the price of chicken is very low in South Africa. It's much lower than beef. And in Kenya, that was striking for me, very surprising for me, that in Kenya and Tanzania, the price of beef and chicken is at the same level. So the local chicken in Kenya and Tanzania is kind of expensive. And that's the reason that there is a bigger preference in consumers for beef. So it all has to do with prices in those different countries. And it's a big difference in between South Africa and Ghana on the one hand side and the other countries on the other side. And these prices really relate to prices of feed, different production systems, indigenous chickens, imports. That can be the reason that Ghana has low prices for chicken, because it's mainly imported low price chicken. And Kenya and Tanzania focus on local indigenous chicken. And that can be the reason that prices are kind of high in those countries. So we have to take into account the background and the reasons for those prices. Okay, next one. Very quickly, I give some comments on those 4 focus countries. Like I said, South Africa, Tanzania, Ghana, and Kenya. Already some numbers are given by the other speakers. This is what's going on in South Africa. In the graph I show on the imports. So you see imports in South Africa are really increasing. And since 2016, it's kind of stabilizing. So there's no more growth in imports because of regulations in South Africa to ban and to control imports. So it's very important to make this remark that South Africa is really working on regulations to control the imports from those countries. And you see the impact that is no kind of stabilizing. South Africa is very clear. It has a large and mature poultry sector, very different from the other countries. It has many large integrated firms. It has a growing production. It has also a growing consumption. And like I said, imports are an increasing problem for the industry to compete with those imports from EU or Brazil and United States. And there is a dispute, very large dispute with a lot of court trials and a lot of discussions on imports from EU. So now the South Africa is really focusing on import levies, on quota and other regulations to control the imports. In general, it's a big table and large overview. I don't give it. It's in the report on duties. But just to mention one, there is one duty, one import levy of 62% on bone-in portions, and really that's a large levy. So that's really reducing the amount of imports. Imports mainly come from Brazil, but also United States and EU, like I said, because they are really competitive in exporting. I will go into details later when we do some modeling on this. Okay, next one. Kenya is a different story. You see the imports, it's kind of fluctuating, but it's a very low level of imports. It's limited till 1,000 or 2,000 tons, so it's a very, very small amount. It's mostly some imports of frozen whole birds. And well, the former speaker gave a long talk about Kenya, so I will keep it short. Poultry is very important within livestock production in Kenya. Poultry is very widespread in rural and urban areas, but they mainly focus on indigenous poultry. So that's much more important than other types. So it's a very small part is just professional production. Sorry. Imports are very low, some imports from Brazil and Uganda. And at the moment there is an import duty of 25%. So that's a very low, low amount of duty. And there is free imports from East Africa community. So there is some free trade with partners in the local area, in the East African area. Well, I see chat. This presentation will be available. Don't worry, it will be on the website. So no need to write down figures. It's available. The next one is on Tanzania. Sorry. Tanzania also very low amounts of imports. It's increasing. It's just 5,000 to 4,000 tons. Well, it's very easy that Tanzania is banning imports to the mainland, so it's not allowed. And the only imports you can see is imports which are allowed to go to Zanzibar. That's more the tourist industry. So there is some imports only to Zanzibar from other countries. So that's a very specific story on Tanzania. Well, also in Tanzania, indigenous chicken is very important. The bulk of the poultry products is traded informal. We see that in many countries in Africa. It's a very informal channels. Poultry is marketed. very much households in rural areas, they prefer the local chickens, or is a focus on local chickens, and just some small, some handful commercial groups which are ranged very differently in size. So there's just a few medium or large scale companies. So that can be improved. I will talk about it later. And then to finalize on Ghana, well, Ghana is a very interesting country for me, being an economist. In Ghana, you see a lot of imports from outside Africa. You see a lot of imports from EU and United States. You see it's increasing, and it's a tremendous amount of 250,000 tons going from outside Africa to Ghana. And it's mainly you see in green, it's mainly frozen cuts of the birds. That's the main part of the imports. Well, in Ghana, it's very important to notice that the layer industry is really good developed, because there is less imports in eggs, but in poultry, broiler production, there are just a few commercial parties, because they are not competitive with those imports, because imports have a low tariff and there is no ban whatsoever on imports. So that's the problem of the poultry industry in Ghana, how to compete with those imports. Imports are coming from United States, EU, and there is some free trade with the West African countries, but that's just minor volumes traded with other countries. The policy of the government is to reduce imports, but so far I didn't see any impact of this policy. So there are no changes in imports. It's still growing. And like I said, that's a big problem of the industry. Okay, let's, in the next picture, I would like to focus a little bit on the competitiveness. So we can see that in some countries, imports of poultry industry is very important. We see problems with import levies. And within the project, we cooperated with those countries, especially South Africa, to do some modeling to show what will be the impact of quota and import levies, to show what will be the impact of measurements taken by the government to control imports. So we have a calculation tool. We adjusted it for this to include some African countries. So far, Europe was really focusing on calculating the production cost in the European countries like Netherlands, Germany, and Poland. And we did focus on Brazil and United States and Thailand, because they are competing with Europe. And in this stage, we included South Africa and Tanzania to show the competitiveness of those two countries. So what we do is we calculate the production cost at farm level. We include the cost of slaughter, and we include the cost of transportation. And then we can make different scenarios to calculate with import levies, just to show the impact of levies. Okay, in the next picture, to start with, I give an overview of the production cost of different countries at farm level. So based on data of 2018, you can see what is the production cost at farm level in euros per kilogram live weight to produce a chicken. And you see in euro cents on the left-hand side, you see the cost in euro cents, and then you see the cost to produce a chicken in the Netherlands, in Germany and Poland, which would be the European EU countries. And you can see the United States and Brazil in the middle, very low production cost. They're the world champion when you talk about the lowest cost to produce a chicken. They have all the facilities, they have the nice climate, they have the feed, they have all the resources, they have big companies, they have integrated production. So those are the low cost producers. And then you can see South Africa. South Africa is almost equal to European when you talk about production cost, So South Africa is kind of in between the low-cost producers and the European countries. So they are kind of competitive. I will talk about it later. And then I included Tanzania, and then you can see Tanzania has very, very high production cost. The cost of the feed is very high. The feed conversion is very high. And also the day-old chicks is expensive. So there's no way Tanzania can compete with the other countries because their production cost in average, that's of course the remark I have to make, in average, their commercial farming, I'm talking about broiler production with the European breeds, is very, very much higher compared to the other countries. So this is at farm level, and then in the next picture, I give the production cost after slaughter. So we have to include slaughtering, and then you can see, well, there's not too much changes, but you can see that Brazil, you see in green, that's the cost of the slaughtering. Brazil has another advantage of low cost of slaughtering compared to Europe and compared to USA because of a low labor cost. And you see also South Africa has this advantage and Tanzania should also have this advantage. So small changes after including the cost of slaughtering, but still it's the same story that Tanzania is out of range and has very high production cost. Okay, in the next picture, we can see what will happen when we do the calculation on what I call the offer price. So what would be the price of those countries competing with South Africa? So that's the first bar. What would be the offer price of a whole chicken, a whole broiler, bringing the birds after slaughtering to South Africa? You can see in the production cost, and then you see the transportation cost. You see that Europe is not able to export whole birds to South Africa. And you can see USA and especially Brazil is on the same level as South Africa. So producing the whole bird, South Africa is competitive with Brazil, and United States is kind of close to this level. But this is not just what's happening. Those countries like South Africa and Tanzania are not importing the whole bird, they are importing the leg meat. So we should make a comparison of leg meat compared to South Africa, what we call mixed portions. And that's in the next graph. You can see on the left-hand side, you see the cost of producing a mixed portion of chicken meat. You see the picture. This is sold in South Africa. The whole bird is cut in parts, and then it will be what we call a mixed portion. That will be 9 cuts out of the whole bird. Can be the breast meat, it can be the leg, can be different parts. It's in bone portions. And to produce those portions, you can see South Africa, the cost will be around 130. And this has to compete with the leg meat exported by Netherlands, Germany, United States, or Brazil. And then you can see in line that those countries are competitive on the South Africa market to export this leg meat compared to the mixed portions price of South Africa. So this is the story of what's going on in South Africa. The local producers, are not able to compete. And Tanzania, well, Tanzania is out of range. Very high cost to produce those mixed portions, so they're not competitive whatsoever with those imports. So you need a ban on imports or very high import levies. In the next picture, this is a scenario study we did. You see the impact of a 35% import levy. So you can see what the import levy is doing in orange, that the import levy is really protecting the South Africa sector, is protected by import levies because this is increasing the offer price. So the offer price of European countries is high because of the import levies, but you can still see with a 30% import levy, that's United States is still competitive. So it all depends on the levy of import levy, the level, how it will be protected. And then in our study, in our modeling, you can play around that the import levy should be 40%, 50%, or in some cases it's 60%. You can see what will happen to the market and how the market will be protected. So it will be just to show with the modeling what will be the impact of import levies and quota combination for different countries. And that's what South Africa is doing. They have different levies for Brazil, United States, and Europe. And with this model, you can play around to show what will happen. Next one. Well, this is the story of Tanzania. Now Tanzania is on the left-hand side. You can see in blue the cost of Tanzania. So like I said, that will be the level of 200, and it's not comparative with imports, including 30%, 35% import levy. So what Tanzania should do is, in the second bar, improve production, make it more efficient, and then maybe at that stage, that's the second bar, it will be reduced the production cost. It can be competitive with the European countries to have an offer price comparable to the leg meat coming from Netherlands or Germany or Poland. But still at that stage, with improved in efficiency, United States is still more competitive. So there is still a need on higher import levies or any ban like they're doing now, just completely ban imports. In the next picture, I give some details. So what I did, Tanzania could improve production. And in this example I give, I said, well, feed conversion at the moment is 1.67 for a 1.8 bird. So when it goes down to the level of South Africa, the feed conversion will be 1.5. Then it will be a 10% reduction in production cost. It can be done by improving the housing, improving the management. Second step would be to lower the feed price. Feed price is 30 to 40% lower in South Africa. So Tanzania should work on improving the feed quality, improving the feed milling standards, better feed ingredients, more supply of feed ingredients, and lower the transportation cost. So, and when you're at this South Africa level, that will be having a large impact on the production cost. And finally, the day-old chicks, these are very expensive in Tanzania. Prices more than double compared to South Africa. So there's a big need to lower the price of day-old chicks in many countries like Tanzania. So there should be better breeding farms, broiler breeders, production, improve efficiency in hatcheries. Well, it's a very common story. We all know about this, but those actions should be made to reduce the cost of the day-old chicken. Okay, next one. So what is the conclusion of all this long story? It's very clear that Sub-Sahara Africa, as already said by many speakers, there is a rising demand for animal production. There is a rising demand for poultry, and the local production should increase production to meet this demand. When you talk about Africa and Sub-Sahara region, it's very clear that the poultry market in the region is not homogeneous. It's very, very different across the country. So it's very complicated to give just one recommendation for all the countries. The situation in Ghana is very different from South Africa, very different from Tanzania. So it should be custom-made recommendations to improve production. It's a very, very, very wide situation in the different countries. We also see from this research that consumer preference can be very different. Some countries have a preference for a chicken, some countries have more preference for beef. It all depends on prices. When prices of local chicken are low, there will be a higher demand for chicken. And it's also very important to notice, it's already said before, that most people have a preference for indigenous chicken, local chicken, but that's a problem. It's too expensive. So at that stage, more people choose to buy imported chicken, buy cheaper chicken, because it's more available in more convenient forms. Many countries have domestic production need to compete with imports. I told about it. It's different from many countries ban chicken, ban imports. So then you can see in Tanzania, they have more local production. Senegal is a good example. There's no imports, so they have a flourishing poultry industry because they don't have to compete with the low cost and cheap chicken from other countries. Okay, conclusions number 2. Well, I gave some examples of what's going on in South Africa. South Africa is doing fine, has a moderate production cost, has a modern industry, but still at that stage they're struggling with imports, and at this stage they're really having regulations on imports, and well, can be an example for other countries to learn from how South Africa is doing this, and they have different tools to control the imports. So it would be very good to take a look at what's going on in South Africa to learn from this, and that can be a way to help local production. Tanzania has very high production costs. At the moment, I'm working for different countries, but Tanzania can be an example for many countries in Africa, like Ghana or Kenya or Senegal. They're all in a similar position that feed costs are much too high compared to Europe, compared to South Africa. So that would be the focus is needed to reduce the production cost and improve efficiency to be competitive with other countries. Tanzania has a strategic plan to improve its efficiency. So that's very important that the government with the industry should work on improving efficiency. And to finalize, Ghana will be the next speaker. We have a similar project ongoing at the moment for Ghana. So the next presentation next year, I can give the details of Ghana and show how the position of Ghana is in this international field of competition. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Peter, for your presentation. It was, well, very interesting, and as seen from the numbers of questions and chats, I think a lot of people are interested in the issues you raised. Because of time, I think it's better that we try to answer a few questions, and that after that we will do individually, well, answer the questioner. One of the questions came is, well, you are speaking on products going from EU to Africa. Can African countries export to EU? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on trade agreements. Europe has many trade agreements with different countries. To give an example, United States is not allowed to export to the EU because of food safety regulations. So the EU is not agreeing with the method the chicken is produced in the United States. So Europe has very high standards on quality and food safety. So when you have to meet those standards in order to try to export to Europe. So that's a big problem for many countries, that they cannot meet the standards. And then on the other hand, I don't think they're competitive. With many countries are not competitive, so there's no chance to export to Europe besides from the standards.
Okay. Another question is, you mentioned in one of your slides that well, the trade is through in Africa is through very informal channels. Is there known what volumes of poultry products are traded between African countries, and additional to this question, there was one saying, well, Ghana is importing a lot of poultry products. Is that re-exported from Ghana?
I don't have the figures of trade within African countries, but it's very easy to check the databases on that. So I can take a look at it. For Ghana, I'm doing that at the moment, but I don't have the numbers right away. But that's the problem with statistics. Of course, that's the formal trade. So don't ask me about informal trade and what's going on. We know it's happening, but I don't have the numbers of the estimates.
Okay, well then the last question I took from the chat and question of answers is, well, EU countries, let's say, get subsidies for exporting their products. Are these subsidies taken into account in your modeling? Well,
that's a big misunderstanding. Europe is not any way subsidizing production or farmers, and some 10 years ago there were some export subsidies, but they were cancelled, they were banned. So there is no subsidizing whatsoever on exports from Europe. Basically, Europe is exporting this leg meat at a low price because the consumers in Europe pay a very high price for the breast meat, and then the leg meat is kind of a byproduct, and that's a big story and big topic, always discussion with South Africa. They don't believe the price the EU is offering in South Africa for this leg meat. They don't believe the story, so they always talk about subsidizing and something wrong. But this is just the way the market is doing the work, that there is no need for this leg meat in Europe, and then you can have a low offer price exporting it to Asia or Africa. So that's a misunderstanding.
Okay, well, thank you very much for clarifying this. Well, I think the other questions we will try to answer separately. I thank you again for your presentation, Peter, and we will now continue with our second speaker of this morning. That's Mrs. Comfort Acheampong from Ghana. And Comfort, welcome to the screen, I would say. To give a short introduction of Comfort, she holds a Master of Science degree in International Agriculture. That's from the University of Applied Science in the Wageningen in the Netherlands, and also from Reading University in the UK. Well, she has a let's say a long relationship with the Netherlands, so I will not continue telling that she was in Barneveld and she was at very many courses in the Netherlands, also is ambassador of the Larenstein University of Applied Sciences. Currently, she is of course in Ghana. And she is the agricultural science tutor and for the Ghana Education Service, and she's also, let's say, engaged by the American Soybean Association, well, as a consultant. But now she will speak on the, let's say, the latest project, and that is the coordinator of the newly established Ghana National Ag Campaign Secretariat. And she will tell us what is done in the poultry value chain since 2019. Comfort, welcome to the, let's say, 2-hour online webinar, and give you the floor.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. Then, good morning. I'm speaking on the Ghana National Ag Campaign Secretariat, what we have been able to do, especially during this COVID era. I'm going to take you through why the Secretariat was formed, how it came into being, and what the Secretariat is doing right now. It is born out of a USDA-funded project called the AMPLIFIES. The AMPLIFIES started about 2015, and one of the mandates was to set up a national egg campaign. Fortunately for me, I was the coordinator, what they called the special technical officer for the campaign. So when AMPLIFIES left, or before they left, we had series of meetings with the Ghana National Poultry Farmers Association. We also had meetings with all stakeholders involved in the poultry value chain. And we all in one unison decided that there should be a continuation of the egg campaign. So that was how we set up the Secretariat. The Secretariat was formed, AMPLIFIES left the scene in 2019. So 2020, December, the Secretariat started its work. We are being governed by a board, a 13-member board. And representatives of the board are from both governmental and private institutions. From the government side, we have the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. They brought us 2 representatives, that is one representing the APD, the Agricultural Animal Production Directorate. The second one is the Women in Agri-Development, that is the WISHH. And then we have also from NAF, that is the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers. In actual fact, the chairman of NAF should always, according to our constitution, be the chairman for the board. We also have board members like the Ghana Health Service, and the Director for Nutrition is representing Ghana Health Service. We also have the Dietetic Association, and their secretary is representing them. And the Ghana School Feeding Program, that is the operation director is also there. Then we have input dealers, processors, hatchery management, and so on. These are 13. Our main aim or our main objective is to try and tell people, encourage people, create awareness for people to consume eggs. Why? Because it gets to a time in Ghana that there's always a glut, especially immediately after the Christmas. Eggs don't move, and at times farmers will have to throw eggs away. You offer it even for free, and people don't want it. And we found out that this was because of the many myths that surrounded the consumption of eggs. So the Ghana National Egg Campaign Secretariat, that is NEX short, with its board, started going around the regions still to find out about the myths. And the myths were so peculiar to certain communities. When you go to the northern part of the country, the major one is that children, school children, babies should not be given eggs because they will grow to become thieves. And this was something that was going around the whole country. Then when we came to the South, lactating mothers who are breastfeeding their children were not encouraged to eat eggs because when they eat it, their children, the babies they are feeding, will get running stomach, which will end up even killing the children. And the major one, which was the biggest, was the question of cholesterol. And that was from the cities. So with these myths, we decided to continue with the egg campaign. And what we did, the strategies we used was first to go to the schools, do what we call school activations. That is, we used the Ghana Health Service nutrition officers, which we have trained. When I talk of we, next, with the support from USDA, have trained a team of trainers who we use in the schools to give the right information about eggs. We also produced flyers that summarized the importance of eating eggs for good health. These flyers are made into what do we call pull-ups and banners. So at any school, we put up these banners and pull-ups, and the children can read whilst the nutrition officer starts with the information he's giving them. We also did church activations. We go to churches, we ask for permission, we are given time to speak, and then the nutrition officer delivers a speech, and question time is given, and the nutrition officers, at times we even go with medical officers who answers the questions. We also go to the communities for community outreach, and that is where we try to demystify the myths. We do this in a form of providing food bazaar made from eggs only. So after all the speeches, people are given cooked eggs or eggs made from different dishes, and they prove to find out that eggs are good. In all this, we also allow people to ask a lot of questions. Now, when the amplifiers was around in 2017, 2018, they did 2 egg surveys using the University of Ghana and some stakeholders like Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers, egg sellers, dietitians, input dealers. We selected them to form a team that did the survey. And both 28 surveys that came out in 2019, the results were that 115 eggs is the per capita consumption of Ghanaians. And when we started, we were actually for the right figures, per capita consumption figures in the country. It became a bit difficult. We could only get some which FAO had so many years ago, but that was between 12 and 20 eggs per person per year. That was the capacity per capita consumption. But these 2 surveys brought the increase due to the campaigns, and that was 115 as I speak now. We are waiting for MOFA to do the validation so that we can put it out there. There is also a training of trainer program which had just ended. We have trained 20 Ghana Health Service nutrition officers to be used as trainer of trainers in our 16 regions. They are going to support the expansion of the message. So these 20 will be used to retrain their counterparts in the regions. The regions will go to the districts, and then it will move up and down. So this is another method which we have used. Traditional media campaign has also been used, and the media campaign we use radios, newspapers, television engagements. We have about 20 pull-up banners and banners. We have produced about 5,000 flyers, about 1,000 aprons, which we distribute to egg sellers. Those who have cooked eggs and are selling by the roadside, we give it to them as a sort of advert. And then we have also produced 1,000 pieces of egg recipe books, which we give out to schools and to catering officers, depending on the person or the group we are handling. Then the school feeding program. Next has been able to enter the school feeding program. In the beginning, the government said, no, we cannot afford to give an egg. It is too expensive. So we are going to approve of that. But with Next, we were able to contact the Ghana Dietetic Association, who gave us the right information. They said, for every 100 children, 20 eggs could be incorporated in the meals already prepared to be given to the children by the catering officers. And this will provide about 30% RDA. And actually, if this is incorporated in the food, each child is going to get about 20% protein. And then the rest of the food, they will get the 10%, which RDA, which the school feeding program is agitating for. So we have trained 665 cooks and caterers how to incorporate the 20 eggs for 100 children in their meals. This we have done already, and the government has accepted it. So it's because of the COVID which has actually stopped us from doing this. But it is in the pipeline, and once the road is cleared, we are going to train 20 officers who are attached to the Ghana School Feeding Program. And these officers are going to retrain the cooks and the caterers throughout the country so that they will know how to incorporate the eggs into the meals they already have, the recipes they already have, different types of food they want to give them. Now the success story. The Next has collaborated with the women in poultry value chain and the women in poultry farming. What these two women group are doing now is they are adopting schools in their communities, and they are donating free eggs to these schools once every week. And there's a lady, Edith, she is in charge of the Rockland Farms. Rockland Farms have about 80,000 layers, and they give eggs to 3 schools in her community for free. The children are about, in total, 1,000 school children, and she gives 1,000 eggs for free every week. There are others who are doing it in the regions. Then there is also a change in the marketing process. Before the National Egg Campaign started, poultry farmers and egg sellers had difficulties in sales, with both parties not getting their monies unless eggs are sold in the market. So what they were doing is, the poultry farmers will go to the farmers, collect the eggs, go back and sell them before they pay. Because the farmers were finding it difficult even to sell these eggs. So, with the next, farmers are now collecting their monies before the eggs are delivered on cash and carry engagements. And this is an advancement in the egg sector. Then we have also positively collaborated with certain foundations, the biggest amongst them being the Agri-House Foundation. They organize a series of meetings, and out of the series of meetings, they incorporate egg activities. And eggs are always invited to deliver speeches, that is, give education, and then to introduce people into egg eating by food bazaars. And we also give a lot of chances to people who want to start poultry farming. We connect them to farmers, we connect them to the right people to get the right information, beginners also to go into the system. Then we have the organic sustainability commitments, and that is creation of Egg Secretariat, which I've just told you about. We have the social and traditional media presence. Anytime we're having a program, they are there. Then the Ghana Health Service and Ghana Dietetic Association continue to spread the education in their own way. Anytime they are having a program, they do it both on the print and the electronic media and on the radios. And then the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has also taken up the Egg Secretariat as one source that can provide jobs. So this is another one. We have different pictures to support the work we are doing. I'm not sure whether you see the pictures, but we have a lot of pictures there showing what Next is doing so far as our program is concerned. Now we've been able to break the myth of cholesterol in eggs, and people are consuming eggs. This is because we have the banners, we have the flyers that talk typically about egg and cholesterol. We also answer a series of questions from them, and major questions that they ask are, how many eggs should one take in a day? Who should eat egg? Which is healthier? Is it the fried eggs or the boiled eggs? At what age can one stop eating eggs? Are eggs good for children and pregnant ones? Breastfeeding mothers eat eggs? Will eggs cause cholesterol? And what is the best time? These are the regular questions which we picked up anytime we had a program like that. And when we do the school visitation, eggs are given to the schools. No matter how many they are, we next give them eggs to be given to the students. I mean, questions and answers. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how far Ghana has reached so far as the Ghana National Egg Campaign is going on. I was one time invited, that was in January, February. I was invited to Nigeria, being the coordinator of the NEX, to also try and help them to establish this Egg Secretariat and then do the campaign. I was there for 1 week in Lagos and I delivered. I was invited to radio stations, television stations, so many questions and I was able to do it. But unfortunately, the COVID just came in around the same time, and we've not been able to follow up. So this is where we have reached with the Ghana National Egg Campaign Secretariat's way of encouraging Ghanaians to continue to eat eggs. Right now, we are faced with some challenges. And the main challenge, it's not rosy as I'm talking now, because farmers had no choice but than to increase prices of eggs. Before the COVID, when things became or started becoming difficult because eggs price doubled, all the ingredients doubled, even wheat bran, which we were buying, were Ghana cedis, which was about 10 cedis for a bag of 50 kilo, it's now 35 cedis for a bag of 50 kilo. So everything has doubled. So then the farmers had no choice than to increase the prices of the eggs from where it was. So now an egg, a tray of egg is now about $3 for a tray of 30 eggs. That is the minimum, and it rises from there. So even though people want to eat the eggs, the price is preventing them now. But all the same, farmers are able to sell their eggs because people now understood and has accepted that egg is a superfood, and the education has gone on there and people are doing it. Now we have talked to the government to bring in yellow maize because people are consuming the same, the poultry industry is using the same white maize which people are using as their staple food, and that has increased the price. So if the government is able to bring in the yellow maize, they are sure that the price will go down and it will come to a level where everybody can also buy the eggs. So in short, eggs are being used for the school feeding program, for secondary schools. Even the government has accepted it that students should be fed eggs in their schools because they have heard eggs contain choline, which helps in brain development. So the government has even accepted it. And this is where NEXT is standing on, the points that NEXT is standing on to promote egg consumption is through the government, to private people, and to traditions. We are now trying all our means to get a sustainable advertisement. We are soliciting for funds from individuals, from institutions, from organizations. Ghana Association is supporting us to get some funds to be able to do a sustainable advertisement on the television, on the radios, just as Coca-Cola and other products are doing, so that when you mention eggs and then the people goes with it, it will become a household name, and people, farmers, will not find it difficult selling about 1.5 million eggs a day in Ghana. And we know that the market will be good for farmers. Thank you.
Comfort, thank you very much for this inspiring presentation. Well, in the meantime, we had a lot of questions, but also when you started your presentation, there were questions came in which you answered later, but I will just summarize some of them and maybe you can have a short comment on that as well. The question was, are you more, let's say, focusing on health benefits, or are you more focusing on selling more eggs? Well, And the other thing is, well, you have mentioned that in the last minutes of your talk, that the aspects of the cholesterol content of the egg and how to convince people to eat more eggs, well, without being afraid of high cholesterol or the bad cholesterol parts in it. Can you just give a short comment on, well, what the reactions are, let's say, from the schools or from whatever on these health benefits versus selling more eggs?
Thank you very much. Our main focus is on the health benefits. And then, because if people buy the eggs and they know the health benefits, it will not deter them from buying the eggs. So our main focus was on the health benefits. And that is why we summarized the health benefits of eggs in a form of flyers and in the form of banner and in the form of puller. And anytime we had a program, whether for the radio or television, we concentrated on the health benefits. So the first door we knocked at was the Ghana Health Service, and they supported us. And then the Medical Association also came in to give us all the support, especially when we're talking about the cholesterol. And we had the information from the Soybean Association. They helped us with some documents. And then we did the training, the health benefits of eggs, also from a consultant, Kate, in the US, who came down to do the training. So all these questions were asked, and she was able to give us the right channel and the right information about the health benefits of eggs. So we know that if people understood and accepted the health benefits, then selling the eggs will be obvious.
Okay, thank you very much for this answer. What I also was striking, let's say, the role of all your women organizations and so on. Of course, I know that in poultry production in several countries, women are more important than men, but well, they also assist you in, well, making this campaign possible. Is it all on a voluntary basis, or how are you doing that?
The women in poultry value chain has a lot of women who are not only into egg production, but into other things. Some are input dealers, but all relating to the poultry industry. So anytime we have a program, we invite them there to also speak about their association, what the association is doing to support egg, support the health benefits. We did, well, out of these meetings with them, collaborations with these women, they have come to accept that they should also be heard. And that's where they have taken up the initiative to give free eggs to school children, because we believe that if school children get the message, it will be easier convincing their parents also to do it. So we've been able to bring them into the Secretariat. And that is why we have the two major women's group, WISHH and WIF, represented on the board, so that any decision we take, they are there and they send it. We also have the excellent on board, and any decision we take, a representative take it out there. So this is what we have done and still doing.
Okay. Well, Comfort, thank you very much. And well, from your lecture, I already understood that you are, let's say, going to other countries in Africa as well to help with this campaign. And I think we wish you all, well, very much success in that, and hope to hear from you in the near future again. Well,
we are moving.
Okay, ladies, gentlemen, whatever listeners, thank you for, let's say, being online with us. This is certainly with the latter part of this webinar with the last two speakers. We are at the end of our session. I thank Mr. Peter van Horne and Comrade Acheampong for their contributions, and thank you all for being online and patient during the last 2 hours or more. Well, I will now give back to the host of our meeting, to Diana, and thank you, and we look forward to meet you somewhere in the future again. Thank you.
Thank you, Roel. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Roel. Thank you, Peter, for these last two presentations. But for all, again, thank you all the speakers for your contribution and presence today, as well as all the attendees who were listening today. We are very happy that we could welcome such a broad audience. I've been following the chats, and we have audience from all over Africa, but as well as Europe, by the way. Next year, Poultry Africa 2022 will take place live finally on the 5th and the 6th of October at the Kigali Convention Center in Rwanda. So you're all kindly invited to attend and see our speakers, but all the nice products, the latest technologies and knowledge live at the Kigali Convention Center. Thank you so much. All the presentations will be later published online on www.poultryafricaevent.com. And if you have any questions, please just let us know. Then we wish you a nice day further and hopefully see you live next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.